Hi everyone, it's Helen Hotai here, founder of Form Help, and today we are looking at the Australia DPD App, or the Australia Digital Passenger Declaration. Okay, so now as you can see here, I'm in the App Store, so go ahead and type in Australia DPD, and you can see there the Australia DPD App. So go ahead and download it like I have just done. And then once it's downloaded, then open it up, and it should look like this. And as you can see, it says please review and accept the terms and conditions before you proceed. So it says by creating an account you are agreeing to be bound by the terms of use, and there is a link there. So if you create a DPD account, you will have an option to create a DPD profile for yourself and for any family members or other individuals who will be travelling with you. So if you do create a DPD account, you will have an option to create a DPD profile for yourself and for any family members or other individuals who will be travelling with you or on whose behalf you are authorised to complete a DPD for. Now, when you register for a DPD account and create a DPD portal profile, the department will collect personal information about you, including your email address and portal password, all of the details on your passport biodata page, including your name, date of birth, passport number, issuing country, nationality and sex as shown on your passport, and your facial biometric when you take a selfie where applicable, and complete a liveness detection test. So they go on to say that we will use this information to verify your identity, manage your DPD portal account, pre-fill DPD fields, communicate with you in relation to your DPD, and, if you opt in, send you DPD reminders and notifications. And they will also use it to secure your DPD app. So detailed information about what we collect, why and who we will disclose your personal information to is set out in their DPD privacy notice. So again, there is a link there. So by clicking I agree, this means you, if you are creating a DPD account on behalf of another traveller, are authorised to give consent on behalf of the traveller for the matters set out below, including for the department to collect, use, disclose their personal information in accordance with the DPD privacy notice. Okay, I'm sure I don't need to read all of that, so if you do agree, then select agree and get started. Now this part is mainly for those who have not created an account. So if you have created an account, then log straight into your account, and those who don't have an account yet, follow through these steps. Now it says, hello, let's set up your account. So go ahead and put in your email address, your username, so enter a username, enter your password, and remember the password criteria. So you've got to have 10 characters minimum, so it's at least one number, one special character, one uppercase character, and one lowercase character. Then confirm your password, put in your first name, your surname, and your phone number. And don't forget, you can see where that little flag is. If you press on that down arrow, it will come up with all the different countries. So select the country where your number is from and enter it in. Next it says, what is your preferred method to be contacted in case we need to get a hold of you? So the two options there are phone or email. So make your selection and then proceed to continue. And for those of you who already have an account, go ahead and sign in with your username and your password. Next you'll come to this screen here, which is your My Digital Passenger Declarations page. Now if this is your first DPD, then go ahead and press on the new DPD, which is the little blue box to your right. And as you can see below, you have the current and past ones. So if you have any current or past ones, they will show up below. Now once you've selected a new DPD, it will say, before you provide your passport, make sure you have your passport, vaccine certificate and test results with you, and then proceed to continue. So as you can see above, it says find your flight. So the little white box above, you get to put in your flight number and then also select the date that you will be travelling. And below it says, please enter your flight number and departure date, then hit the search button. Now, if your flight has a stopover on the way to Australia, please enter both legs of the flight separately. And if you can't find your flight, then you can add it manually. Okay, let's go ahead and have a go at entering a flight number and a departure date. Now for this example, I'm going to select a flight that has a stopover so that we can see how to enter two flights. So the departure flight and the flight landing in Australia. Okay, so I have gone ahead and chosen a flight that flies from New Zealand to Fiji to Brisbane, I believe. Okay, so let's go ahead and put those details in. So I put in my New Zealand to Fiji flight details, which is my first flight detail. So it's the departing flight, and it's come up with one result, and that looks like it's the correct one. So I'll just check the details are correct. I can already see that the flight details match, but go ahead and press on it and then just double check. And then if you're happy with that, it does say that the arrival port is not in Australia. Please add another flight to your itinerary. Now, because you do have two flights, this is your option to put your second flight or your flight landing or arriving into Australia. And as you can see below, it shows your departure flight details. And once you have added your landing flight or your arrival flight into Australia, they should also show up in there as well. Now, for those of you who have direct flights to Australia, meaning no stopovers, then you only need to add one flight. Whereas those who do have stopovers, you will need to add your flight landing into Australia. So we'll go ahead and do that now. So in this example here, I've put in my flight details for the flight arriving into Australia and also the date. And as you can see, it says no results found. So that means that I've either entered the incorrect flight details or the incorrect date. It could also mean that I need to manually enter my flight details. But for this example, I only just typed in the wrong date. I've since corrected it, so now it's going to come up with one flight found. And it does match the flight that is flying into Australia. So just quickly check the details. And if you are happy to go ahead, then continue to confirm. Now you would have noticed that it does have your first flight, the flight departing your country, and also the arrival flight details, the ones arriving into Australia. So I know a lot of people have mentioned that only one of their flights is showing up on their summary. I wouldn't be too concerned, only because I know that I have both flight details on my application. So if they needed to check, they'd easily be able to look it up or even scan your passport to see where you've come from. However, if you are worried, I would encourage you to contact the Global Service Centre, and I'll put the number in the description box below. And yeah, give them a call and just confirm anything that you need to. Okay, so once you have checked all your flight details, if you're happy, go ahead and proceed to confirm. And next you'll come to the information collection consent. So have a read through, scroll all the way to the bottom before that I agree button turns blue. And if you do agree, then go ahead and select I agree. Next, you'll come to this page here, which is scan your passport. So you need to hold your phone camera over the photograph page of your passport, and it says capture the photo page of your passport. And when you're ready, you can select scan. So let's go ahead and have a try of scanning our passport page. Now the message that comes up says Australia DPD would like to access the camera. The Traveller app needs access to your camera in order to scan QR codes and passport. So because I need to and I want to scan my passport, I'll go ahead and select OK. So have your passport page open and ensure that it fits within that blue box there. And once it has been successfully scanned, the box will turn green. And then you will need to review your passport details. So go through, ensure that everything is correct, and then save and next. And next we need to scan the e-passport chip or the RFID. So again it says place the phone on your passport and please place your phone on top of your passport as shown in the guides. Next you should see a screen like this, so it says ready to scan. If you look above, it's showing you how to scan your passport and it will start reading your chip. Now in this example here, I've moved my passport around a little bit too much, or I moved it away from the scanner too early. So as you can see there, it has actually failed. But that's okay, it will prompt you to place the phone on the document and then follow the instructions as per above and try again. And as you can see in this example, I didn't actually move my passport before the scanning finished, and now the scanning is complete and I get a big tick. Next you'll come to the screen here, it says image capture. So this is where you get to take a selfie with a plain background. So remove any masks or face coverings and then select take a photo. So in this part here, you'll either need to move your face closer or further from the camera, but it will prompt you. So you can see that the circle around the face is red. That means your photo is not ready. So if you move closer or further away, and when the circle turns green, that means that your photo is a satisfactory one and that it meets the standards. And you'll get a tick which says save and next. Next we come to travel history. Now it says add your itinerary for the last 14 days on your way to Australia. So I personally interpret that to mean any stops along the way, because it is talking about on your way to Australia. However, if you continue below, it says, have you been or will you be in any other countries in the 14 days prior to your flight to Australia? So it's very contradictory, those two statements, the top and the bottom one. Only because the first statement says to add your itinerary for the last 14 days on your way to Australia. And then the bottom one asks whether you've been in any other countries 14 days prior to your flight to Australia. Now, when speaking to a Global Service Centre rep about this question earlier on, and this was before the DPD, when it was called the ATD, his interpretation of this question was that it was referring to any travel you've done 14 days before your flight and connecting flights to Australia. So if you want to err on the side of caution, I would give the Global Service Centre a call, as I found that you can get very different answers from each rep. And if I do get two conflicting answers, I'll just go with the reply from the rep that makes more sense to me. However, because of that top statement, which from memory was not there before, personally I would select yes and list any countries that I have stopped in or been at on my way to Australia. So in my example, my flight goes from New Zealand to Fiji to Australia. So after selecting yes, I would go ahead and add in there New Zealand and Fiji. And if you do select yes, expect the following questions. So which country did you come from? And then you can add the country and then proceed to continue. And if you select no, there is no further questions and you can proceed to continue. Now in this part here, it's transit in Australia. Are you transiting through Australia to another country? And if you select yes, it then goes on to say, if you are transiting through Australia to another country, select the length of time you will be in transit. So choose one of those options there and then proceed to confirm. Then you'll see the next question is, what is your final destination country? So put it in there. And then the next one is the expected departure port from Australia. So go ahead and put in your departure port. And then beneath that is the interstate travel question. So within 14 days after arriving in Australia, or within 14 days after leaving quarantine, do you intend to travel to another state and or territory? And then go ahead and select yes or no. And if you do select yes, go through and place a check in the box for each of the states or territories that you intend to travel to. Now next you'll be asked for your reason for coming to Australia. Now select from one of the following, so migrating permanently to Australia, a visitor or temporary entrant, or a resident returning to Australia. And once you've selected your choice, then proceed to confirm. And then don't forget to put in your occupation and then proceed to continue. Next you'll come to this section here, contact details. So you need to provide your intended address in Australia. So go ahead and put in, enter the address. And you can also see below there is an option to enter it manually. And expect the following if you do enter the address manually. So go ahead and put in the street number, street, locality, state or territory, postcode and country. And then you'll see next is the contact details in Australia. Now a common query I get is I can't progress in my DPD application because I don't have an Australian number or SIM. Now what I would do in this situation, if I don't have an Australian contact number because I don't have an Australian SIM card to provide a number, then I would firstly use a family or friends number that I'm staying with in Australia and put their details in there. If you're not staying with family and friends and don't have a number to put in there, then I would select the down arrow tab with the flag next to it and choose my country and put in my current number that I have. Otherwise, you won't be able to progress in your application. And that's probably why they've placed the flags there. As I know, people overseas likely won't have an Australian SIM card or an Australian contact number, and people still use their local numbers and use global roaming as well. Next, put in your email address and then select your preferred contact method. So you have the options of phone or email, so make that selection. And then next you have the emergency contact details. So it says emergency contact details can be in Australia or overseas. So go ahead and put in your emergency contact person's given names, their family name, their phone number, their email address, and their home address is optional if you want to put it in, and you've also got the option to enter it manually, and then proceed to continue. And next you should see this page here, so it says review trip details. Now please review your trip details below and make sure everything is right. So as you can see there, it's got your flight details, it has your passenger identity, travel history, planned movements and contact details, and as you can see on my example they're all complete. And if you press on the or select the down arrow for each of those boxes, it will provide you with more details on each of those sections. So once you are happy following the review of your trip details, then go ahead and proceed to submit. However, if you haven't actually completed each of those sections, you do have the save and exit button to your left. So yeah, just go ahead and press save and exit if you haven't quite finished and you need to come back and complete it. That's why you have that option there. And once you've submitted, you'll see this message here, which says you will only be able to amend contact details once you have submitted your trip. So you can proceed to continue and you can, like it said, update those details. So in this example here, you can see that the trip details have been submitted and the quarantine details have commenced. And remembering the health information remains locked until 72 hours before your departure flight. That's when you can start entering details for the health information. Now I know for the online DPD application, so at the top it will show you how many days there are before your departure, but I wouldn't rely on that information, and I have had many people start to panic when it shows on their application at the top that there are 3 days to go and yet their health information section is still locked. Now please don't panic, but have a look at your flight departure details that you entered on your trip details and start counting backwards exactly 72 hours, and that should be the date and time that your health information will be unlocked. So in my example, for my New Zealand to Fiji flight, my flight departs New Zealand for Fiji on the 7th of March at 17:05 hours. So if I count backwards 72 hours, then my health section should unlock at exactly 17:05 hours on the 4th of March. However, this may not be the case for some people. So if your health information hasn't unlocked, even after you've followed the steps that we just went through, then I would contact the Global Service Centre and just seek further assistance. Now let's go ahead and start on the quarantine details. Now, as you can see here, it says warning, penalties apply for breaches of state and territory health orders, and which quarantine arrangement applies to you on arrival in Australia. So please review the requirements of the state or territory of your arrival prior to answering this question, and detailed information is available at States. So if you click on that link there, it should give you the information that you need for the states or territories that you are entering. And then note it says you must comply with public health requirements, including post-arrival testing and quarantine requirements in the state or territory of your arrival and any other state or territory that you plan to travel to. Now, some states and territories require approval prior to travel. Now, and then further on below it says, I have checked the quarantine requirements of the jurisdiction of first arrival and any other domestic jurisdictions I intend to travel to. I have made quarantine arrangements prior to my travel where required. Then select one of the three options below. So we'll look at the first option. If you select the government managed quarantine for the state territory hotel quarantine, the next question that will come up is, do you wish to quarantine with any other passengers? And if you do select yes, it says answer provided will assist us with quarantine planning. Example, if your family wished to quarantine together. So again, the next question, how many people will be in your hotel quarantine room? So go ahead and put a number in that box. And then the next question is, will you require medical or other assistance while you are in quarantine? So your options are yes or no, and if you do select yes, expect the following questions. Do you need to see a doctor when you arrive? So select yes or no. If you select yes, you will need to provide details of your illness. So if you are currently ill, please provide details of your symptoms or condition and then type it in that box there, and that says that there is a maximum number of characters of 1,000. So go ahead and type in your details there. And then the next question is, do you have any pre-existing medical conditions? Now, if you do select yes, will you require additional prescription medication to cover your 14 days in quarantine? Now, if you select yes, then go ahead and provide details of the medications that you need, and remembering that you have a maximum number of characters of 1,000. So go ahead and put those details in there. Next, it says, do you need mobility aids or assistance? Go ahead and select yes or no. Are you suffering from mental health conditions? Select yes or no. Are you pregnant? Yes or no. Are you caring for a baby? Yes or no. Do you suffer from any allergies? If you do select yes, and then answer the next question, you need to specify your allergies. Next question, do you need an interpreter during quarantine? And if you say yes, you need to specify the language that you need for the interpreter service. Next is, do you require any other assistance? If you do select yes, it says, please let us know if you have any dietary requirements, cultural or religious needs, and then you need to provide the details of support below. And if you don't have many issues or health issues or concerns, or if you're quarantining on your own, this section will be a lot shorter for you. Now, I have had many questions about the 2 home quarantine options which are available. Now, as you can see, there are 2 options below. Now, there is the other quarantine arrangements, including home quarantine, and then the one below that is quarantine-free arrival, which is for the fully vaccinated only, and it's not available in all states. Now, they are both home quarantine options. However, what makes them different is the type of flight you were on when flying into Australia. So if your flight was classed as a quarantine-free arrival flight, then you choose the home quarantine option for quarantine-free arrival flight. Now, I know they used to have these flights between Australia and New Zealand and probably between other countries as well, but I don't know, what the update is now. Now, if you're eligible for home quarantine, but your flight was not classed as a quarantine-free arrival flight, then you select the second option or the middle option of the three, being the other quarantine arrangements, including home quarantine. So hopefully that's clear, as I know a lot of people have asked me about that question. Now, following your selection, proceed to continue. Next, you'll come to the screen here and it says, Review Quarantine Declaration. Please review and confirm Quarantine Declaration. So have a read through, and then at the bottom of the screen, you'll see the quarantine option that you've chosen. So for this example, it says other quarantine arrangements, including home quarantine. Now, if you need to amend that, then click or select the amend button. If you haven't finished and you want to save and exit, then press save and exit. And if you're done and you want to submit, then select the submit button. Next, you'll see this screen here. You can see that your trip details have been submitted. The quarantine details have been submitted, and we are now awaiting the health information to be unlocked. And if you need, you can view your summary. And that concludes today's tutorial on how to complete sections 1 and 2 of the DPD through the mobile app. Now, those sections being number 1, the travel details, and number 2, the quarantine details. Now, I won't be able to do section 3, the health information section, for a few more hours, as the health information section has not unlocked as yet. So check back tomorrow for part 2 of this tutorial, which is section 3, the health information, or you can watch the tutorial I did for the online application version of the DPD. Now, I will place links in the description box below. Now, a disclaimer. I do not work for the Australian government or the Global Service Centre, neither do I speak on their behalf. So any suggestions I might make are just what I would do personally. So you make your own choice as to what you feel best, and it's good practice to seek advice from the Global Service Centre should you require any further assistance. Now, another thing I would suggest is that if you have any queries, go through the comments on my video or tutorial on the online version of the DPD, and there is part 1 and 2, and there are lots of queries on there with some answers from the FAQs or from other people's experiences. Now, I really should have a FAQs section in the comments section so that people can refer and get answers to their questions, to save them from waiting for a reply from me or having to scroll through and find their answers from the comments below. So if I ever get time, I will try my best to have that up. Now, I'll post up part 2 hopefully tomorrow or early next week. Now, if I've missed your query, my sincere apologies. So it's likely was accidentally deleted. Now, my Form Help channel is a voluntary service I like to provide to our worldwide community. Now, if I could do this as a full-time job, I'd love to. However, at this stage, it is my service project, and I work on it when I'm not busy with work and family. Now, for those of you who weren't aware or don't even care, which is fine, Form Help is only one of my 3 channels. So my second channel is Kiki and Koko. So if you have any kids or grandchildren who enjoy reading or listening to stories, I've written a handful of kid stories and I read them out on my channel. And my third channel is Helen, Hotai, the diary reader. So if you were curious to know a little bit more about me, then you won't really find find anything interesting, because I'm really a boring person. If anything, you'll find me even more boring. But I do love to read out any of your diary entries, should you have any to share. So if you want to check out to my other 2 channels, I'll leave links in the description box below. So we have Kiki and Koko, Stories for Kids, and Helen Hotai, the Diary Reader. Okay, enough babbling from me, but thanks so much to everyone who supported my channel. It's great to see that subscriber numbers are increasing. That's awesome. Now you all have a wonderful day. Keep smiling, be positive, and share those positive vibes with everyone around you. Take care, and we'll catch up soon. Thanks again. It's Helen Hotai, founder of Form Help, signing out. Have a great day.